32 according to my clock. And the first order of business is public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment? Okay. Seeing none.
We have Ms.
somebody
Ellen Garcia.
Oh yeah, Alan Garcia.
Hi, yes. I was just wondering because I'm a senior at Windham High, and I due to COVID I've already missed my football season, and just it sucked, and I was just really hoping we could have wrestling practices like contact. It'd be really great, and it's the practices right now are with masks and everything, so they're safe and they're controlled, but just for as experience of missing football season, that really sucked. So it'd be great if we can have wrestling contact practices.
Thank you for weighing in, Alan. We appreciate hearing from you, especially to hear from a student. That's great. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak during public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go into discussion of spring sports. And Dr. Youngberg, I don't know if there's anything you want to share with us or whether you want to call on James or to share anything with us.
So I feel like the board has been caught up to speed on the spring sports piece from our last meeting. You may have questions about winter wrestling. I gave you the breakdown in my email, but if you do, I know we have a couple people on the call who can certainly answer those. So I don't know if there's any questions about the wrestling week or if there's any questions that either Mr. Risley or Mr. Thompson could answer.
So we're going to be potentially taking action on the 3 action items that are on our agenda this evening. And so now is the time to ask questions and raise any issues. So I'll kick it over to the board and let you ask questions or raise issues that you want to raise for discussion. Mark?
Thank you, Lynn. I really don't have a discussion per se. I have an issue, and Pat knows my firm belief and backing of wrestling, but I have to say that is the stupidest proposal I have ever seen. A 1 week wrestling in pods of 4 where they wrestle 1 student. If nothing else out of this whole sports debate, I have to say I have lost all faith in the Connecticut Sports Association to make any sort of reasonable requests. But I understand the proposal. I just have to say it. I haven't seen anything as dumb as that one. Thank you.
Mary, you had your hand up?
Well, did you mean we could weigh in with what we think in general of the spring sports, or is it anything specific?
No, this is just discussion about spring sports, winter wrestling, and potentially spectators at sporting events. This is when we're going to discuss things before we possibly take action.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say for whatever, various concerns we all have during this time of pandemic, if we're taking the state recommendations about opening schools, and if SEAC is designated as the authority on sports, I don't think we should be second guessing. I am not qualified to give my opinion. I do think contact sports sound somewhat risky, but I think if we start second guessing and picking certain things, it's contradictory. It's not consistent, and then we have to explain every decision we make. And I do wish things were clearer, including all the various guidances about schools and distancing. But I believe that if we're following the authorities on opening the schools to in-person instruction and sports and athletics are part of the education, we should accept what authorities are proposing. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hilda here.
Mary, Hilda, go ahead.
So my question is, okay, so I understand the breakdown. That I'm assuming that came from the athletic league. All activities will take place. I get that. So cohorted into groups of 4, but they can only wrestle live with 1 student. What does that mean exactly? So there'll be 4 kids in the room, but they can only wrestle 1 at a time or once a week? Or
Why don't we let Mr. Risley answer that question?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is they'll be in pods of 4 where they'll probably work with 1 individual with the skill building, but they would be in a pod of 4 where they would live wrestle with those 4 wrestling each other. Kind of like we do in practices anyways, but we're going to definitely limit it to those pods. So it's kind of like cohorting, into small groups. And
Right,
that's
so they-
all they would be able to work with, is just within those 4 kids.
So the 4 in cohort A cannot wrestle with the 4 in cohort B.
For our purposes, we're set up in the auxiliary gym. So we're going to have a full mat out there and spaced out. So the pods will be, we're talking only about, 10 to 15 kids that are going to participate. There's not going to be that many more. So we'll probably, let's say if we have 12 kids, they would be 4 kids in one quarter of the mat, 4 kids in another quarter of the mat, and so on and so forth. So that way they're spaced out. They'll be definitely distance apart. We'll be following all the mitigation strategies that's listed. They laid out all these guidelines that we got to follow. But it won't be a whole group of kids in contact with one another.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you.
think if that's
Hilda,
what, well, I just want to finish my comment. I just want to say, I think if that's what they're proposing, I think we should go with it and not,
Okay.
For now anyways, until they change it. I'm sure they'll change it again. But for now, I think if that's what we have, we'll take it. Because these kids really need to wrestle. They need their sports, whatever way possible.
Thank you, Ilda. Note that it's only 1 week,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
1
so
week.
it's probably not going to change. It's 1 week and done.
Yeah,
James,
makes sense.
did you look like you might want to say something? I'm not sure. I'm reading your body language. I'm not sure.
I'm just saying, thank you for this opportunity so far with our wrestling program. And Mr. Risley, Mr. Haggerty, and Mr. Fleming have done a great job with our kids. Certainly seeing some more engagement with some of the athletes, being student athletes. There's some students, hey, sports have certainly made the difference with a lot of our kids and helping keeping them involved. And, they've been doing a great job following the mitigation strategies that we've been able to do so far, whether it be in the weight room or outside conditioning. So, yeah, that was it.
Thank you. Are there any other board members who would like to ask questions about either wrestling or the spring sports or the idea notion of allowing spectators?
I have a question
Yes.
for Mr.
ahead.
Thompson. Mr. Thompson, how are you? Okay, I'm going to just ask you one question. Given all the circumstances that we're going through, mitigation, pandemic, and everything, do you personally, in your professional opinion, do you think it's safe to do it?
It kind of broke up there. Are you asking about spectators right now? Or,
Not a spectator. I
our
was
spring
asking
sports being
about
safe?
wrestling. I was asking about wrestling.
I mean, I know that the athletes, we've strongly had some conversations within some of our teams. There was an article earlier this year where we're sharing, that decisions that the kids are going to have to make. You know what I mean? If they want to have these opportunities, what they do
But
outside.
regardless of everything else, you yourself, as a director of a sport, do you think it's safe?
I believe that we can be safe.
Okay, thank you. That was my
Thank you.
question.
Okay, thank you. So you were directing it just on the wrestling issue, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
would
thank
just-
you.
specifically asking about the wrestling.
Okay. Thanks. Is there anybody else who would like to ask any questions, make any comments? Yes, Mark.
Yeah, that's actually the only question I have is on the spectators. I don't know if we're going to be voting on all in one motion or that's separate.
No, they're all here as separate action items on the
Separate
agenda.
So I'm interested in what James or Riz have to say about the spectators. I have no objection to spectators being there, but I don't want to be in a situation where the coaches are having to spend half their time policing the spectators. Or, I mean, baseball is going to be interesting because half of them will sit on the bleachers and the other half will stay up behind the fence. So I think there could be issues there. So I'm just curious what the plan is from the coach's viewpoint.
Mark, before we ask the coaches to speak, I did speak to Dr. Youngberg about this, about the idea of monitoring and not having the coaches have to do that. And Dr. Youngberg, do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. I just want to say that we actually have the funds to pay to have other people be responsible for helping us keep the spectators safe. So it wouldn't be on the coaches. We'd be looking to potentially pay some employees like our security guards, for example. It could be other people as well overtime to do that. So we have the money to do that.
Coaches, do you want to say anything about this in addition, or?
One of the things that I'm actually making a request for, I'm not going to be offering the bleachers. The bleachers are actually going to be put on near the dugouts, so we can allow spacing within the team. For baseball, usually, the spectators usually bring chairs or they stand behind the fence on the tangent line. When you go to the softball games, they're pretty much, bringing chairs. We have our parent meet the coaches night. And within those meetings where the coaches are speaking to the parents, we can certainly say, this is what we're going to be doing for our mitigation strategies. And we can certainly communicate that with the spectators, the security. And we've had a chaperone at all of our matches so far this year. And it's been a pretty tight ship. We've been actually, it's been made clear by our ECC committee that no spectators have been permitted. We haven't really dealt with any resistance, and if there is a problem, we will certainly address it. And like the idea, if we have this opportunity, we'd be grateful. I just don't think, we'll just ask people to keep their distance. That's what we'll do. And if it arises, then that person may not be allowed to attend Windham games anymore. So, people have been very cooperative. I have to imagine that they'll continue being cooperative for the next few months.
I just have a quick question. What sports are we talking about other than baseball?
So right now we have base. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Dr. Youngberg shared the full list with us, Ilda, but go ahead, James.
We're hoping to, we're trying to field our girls tennis team right now. We have softball, baseball, track scheduled, boys golf, plenty of distancing there. And yep, that's it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see the list. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I just like to say that I'm heartened that we can be doing these sports outdoors. I'm assuming if we take a vote on the 1 week wrestling, we're not talking about having, I'd like it if we weren't talking about having spectators indoors. But, you know, we can take that up when we take that issue up. As the daughter of, my father was All-American in 3 sports, track, swimming, and football. And, you know, I saw what athletics has done for people in my family, and I'm a big proponent of it. And it seems like we can, I just want to say, in my personal opinion, nothing is ever completely safe during the pandemic. And I understand that it is a risk that we are taking to do this. But I think if the parents and the students decide that they want to participate, that is up to their own, you know, families to make that decision about what they're willing to take on and the benefits for their children. So I'm going to vote in support of opening up the sports. Is there anybody who'd like to say anything else before we move into action items? Katina?
I know that sports saved my stepson when he went to Windham High School. And they did an amazing job for Ayan Celis, keeping her engaged. So I'm planning to vote yes to support the sports and the kids.
Paula?
I feel the same way, especially, I don't know how many of the football players are on the wrestling team, but these kids have really, they've lost a lot. And I think we've seen that our coaches have kept our kids safe. They seem to have, as odd as it may sound, sounds like they have a good plan. And yes, I'm in support.
Okay, I know we have, we have about 10 more minutes before we're supposed to go into the Finance and Audit Committee meeting, which we could postpone, delay opening if we need to. But let's move to action items then. And we have 3 action items on the agenda. One is approval for students to participate in spring sports. The second is approval for students to participate in the 1-week winter wrestling. And the third is approval for spectators to attend sporting events. And so I would entertain a motion on the first one regarding spring sports.
Moved.
I second it.
Second,
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Ilda. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote then. Janet, please.
Certainly. Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Dr. Cabanowen,
Yes.
Ms. Haney,
yes,
Dr. Gomez,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Ivey.
Yes.
Thank you.
You forgot me.
You forgot
Oh,
Mary,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, Mary Galucci.
I,
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Haney.
Yes, you got Paula,
Thanks.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is approval for students to participate in the winter wrestling. Anybody like to make that motion?
So move.
Motion made by Ilda,
Second.
seconded by Katina. Any discussion?
I just hope, this is Tracy, I just hope that Coach Risley, and I trust that you will, keeps an eye on the kids and make sure that the cohorts stay together, because it's not worth one day of wrestling to me if somebody gets sick. That's my only concern, Pat. And I have the utmost respect for you, both as an administrator and a coach. And just be careful with our kids, that's all. And I know you will, so I appreciate it.
Anything else? Okay, we'll take a roll call. Janet, please.
Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Dr. Gomez,
Aye.
Ms. Ray,
Yeah.
Ms. Haney,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Caban-Owen,
Yes.
Dr. Galucci,
Aye.
Ms. Ide.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. And the final item for action is approving spectators to attend sporting events. I'll
So
entertain.
moved, Tracy.
Tracy made the
Second.
motion, seconded by Mark. Any discussion?
Lynn,
Yes?
it's Tracy again. Can we put a caveat in there that if it becomes untenable, that spring sports get shut down? Like spectator part of spring sports, not the student part, but that spectator sports get shut down. If it becomes untenable, people aren't willing to space, people aren't willing to wear masks, do whatever they're asked to do, that sport no longer has spectators because of inability to maintain social distancing and other protocols. I don't know if
think
that's
I
amenable.
think that's reasonable. Does anybody else object to that?
Very reasonable.
How are you going to,
Yeah, I was just going to ask who would make the decision though?
Well, there are chaperones that are being paid by the district, Dr. Youngberg said, to be at these games to, keep an eye so the coaches don't have to. If they get to the point where they can't control the crowd or people aren't listening, then they just shut down spectators. I think it's for the health of our students more than anything else.
my objection to this is just that spectators could get out of control in any kind of situation, even in a non-pandemic one. And I feel that if it's getting so out of control, then the law enforcement would be involved. So saying we're going to cancel everything at that point, I find a little bit, micromanaging.
Well, I approve the motion, so I'd like to amend the motion to say that if spectators get out of control, that spectators will no longer be allowed at that specific sport for the rest of the season. I don't remember who seconded it, and I think this gives the coaches and the staff the opportunity to have a stick and a carrot. If you guys can't hold it together, if you can't keep your social distancing, then you'll no longer. That way there's a repercussion if parents are unwilling to. And at several games, there have been parents ejected at, different things for being too outspoken, being rude, inappropriate behavior. Thank you, whoever said that. And now there's a reason. If you are inappropriate at a game, if you won't wear your mask and stuff like that, we just don't have spectators anymore. Parents really want to be there, and I really don't want to take that away. But if you get a group that just can't abide, I work in a retail facility and people come in and don't want to wear their masks and don't want to, stay 6 feet away and want to touch everything. And it's a real issue there. So I think that giving them a repercussion for poor behavior is important. So I am amending the motion that I made to say that that's the case.
I have a question.
Excuse me,
Who would enforce that?
Jaime, before we do that, I need the person who seconded that emotion to
Oh, okay,
accept the
sorry.
amendment. Mark?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
seconded
are
the
you-
motion. I seconded the motion. I would accept that amendment. I would probably fine tune it a little bit and just say that decision would lay in the hand of the athletic director, that James would be the ultimate decider as to if we're going to cancel that sport or not, that he has to be involved in that decision. But I accept the amendment.
Thank you for that
don't think
clarification. Is that
It's a
okay with-
motion
before?
to amend. You have to make a motion to amend a motion. So Tracy made a motion and then she made a motion to amend. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, that is what we're dealing with right now, the amended motion. We have to vote on the motion as amended first. So Tracy has amended the motion. Mark has agreed to second that, with adding in that the ultimate decision is made by the athletic director. And so now, Jaime, did you want to discuss this any further before we vote?
No, just I think I wanted to know who would enforce that, and I think Mark said the athletic director. But would that be on the spot on any given sports? If the spectators become rowdy, what happened at that moment? What happened if the director isn't there? Is that a public call the police or what?
We
The
will have
security-
security available. Go ahead. So go ahead, Mrs.
Go,
Sosa.
go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
We will have a chaperone on site for each event. We will also have security that is available to deal with the matters. We've been, our veteran staff has been pretty good about dealing with out of control spectators. We don't get that a lot. And
Who
it'll be.
provides the security?
I'm sorry.
The security is provided by whom?
Yes, we are
I-
providing
Windham
it.
Public Schools, we have our own
No, I
security.
mean, who would be the security? Police officers?
No,
No, we have a
staff.
security department at the high school.
Jaime, earlier on in this discussion, Dr. Youngberg confirmed that we would be paying for additional staff to provide security
Okay,
at these events,
now.
not police.
So this staff would act as security.
Yes,
And then because, I can't see a lot of, I don't know. It's okay. It's,
Okay.
it's-
thank you. Katina?
I am in my mind, rowdy, loud, happy is the one thing, right? The other one is not wanting to keep the appropriate space and not wearing masks, especially
Yes,
because they
That's
come
what
in
we're
their
talking
putts.
about.
And that's
Yes.
exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
I
So
think
I just
COVID
wanted to make
protocol.
sure to clarify that that's what's happening.
In relation to this policy, obviously, if people behave in other ways inappropriately at games, we have the right to take action on that too. But we're in this case talking about the COVID protocols at the games. So, any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? Okay, we'll take a roll call on the amendment, the motion.
Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Dr. Gomez,
Aye.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Haney,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Cabanoen,
Aye.
Dr. Galucci,
No,
Ms. Ide.
Aye. Okay, now we're back to the motion that's on the table to allow spectators, the motion that's now amended. Right? Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. To allow spectators with the conditions that were put on it by the amendment. So we'll take a roll call on that.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Dr. Cabanoen, did you want to say something before the roll call?
Just, I thought we had to make a motion again, but no, I was mistaken.
Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Dr. Gomez,
Aye.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Haney,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Cabanoen,
Aye.
Dr. Galucci,
aye.
Ms. Ide.
Thank you, everybody. I know that Mark at least needs to get off to start the finance committee meeting. But I'll stay on with anybody else who wants to stay on if there's any public comment.
I have a question.
Yes?
Maybe
Well,
not regarding anything, but I keep getting these emails in the board account by Vivian Aldrich.
Yes, I think it's.
Says, hello,
spam.
does anybody know who this person is or what kind of anywhere to
I think
that
it's
IT
spam.
can stop that?
I think it's spam, Jaime.
Vivian Aldrich.
Yes.
I've been getting it.
Yes, I think it is spam.
Oh, it's spam. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we just throw it out, but
Yeah, just delete it.
is there a way to stop him? Because it's been coming
I-
for the past 3 days.
I don't know, but whether there's a tech person who can answer that.
I'll take care of it. If you forward one to me, Dr. Gomez, I'll take care of it with IT.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anything else under public, is there anything under public comment?
Lynn, can I
Yes.
speak on behalf of one of my wrestlers? He texted me because he had trouble technically getting on to the Zoom meeting because he wanted to speak
Oh,
prior
that's too
to the
bad.
vote. But I've relayed to him that they already voted and approved, and he wanted me to share that, you know, he really appreciates this opportunity. He's a senior. He was feeling really bad about missing the competitive season, but even just this 1 week that we get to wrestle and be a little bit more normal, he's so appreciative of, and he wanted the group to know that.
Well, please let him know we're happy to hear from him and sorry that he couldn't get on with us.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak during public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:02.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved by Ilda and seconded by Paula, I think. Okay, thank you very, meeting adjourned.
Night, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.